Hey Cam Fam!
Hey Yom Fam! Now there is a legit Yom Fam!
Before anything else, please make sure to subscribe to my channel
And
also
my
to
channel.
This channel and to click on that bell button so you're always notified whenever we have new videos like this one. Okay, so we've already tackled how to find that dream property of yours. You've already got your dream property. What's next? Now, it's time to look for the team.
The team.
The team that will make your dream come to life.
What does that mean?
So there is, for your dream home to come to life, you need certain people in your life to help you make all of your dreams into reality.
Right.
Okay, so what are they? Like a quick run through. So we have architect,
Yeah, that's the number one.
we have engineers,
Yeah, part of usually the architecture package.
you've got your contractor, and then you've also got interior designers or project managers or so on and so forth. So those are the basics. So we're gonna tackle each and every one of them and also help you get an idea of what you should look for when it comes to looking for these people. Like for example, when you look for an architect, what should you look for? What should you expect? So that you don't go into this blindly. Because I know a lot of people are not so familiar with these things, especially if you're a new homeowner or a new property owner, then this will come in handy for you.
Because we are very seasoned property owners.
Exactly.
With our one lot.
No naman. We've experienced.
Hold on, you have a hair on your nose.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so let's start off with the architect. So what is an architect, sir?
Architect is a licensed person, as professional, who will make your dreams come true.
So labo. That could be anything, but basically, he or she or the architectural firm will be the one who
conceptualizes your ideas and who make sure that
they basically design your home.
There we go.
They basically design your home and they're in charge of all the plans for your home.
So usually in the beginning, when you start looking for an architect, of course you shouldn't be settling right away. Okay, this is my architect, unless you really want that architect. Already you've done your research. But for example, for us, we went through, we had a short list and then we had more additions to that short list when the time went on. So we had identified that, okay, these architects are pretty cool. They do kind of what we want of our house. Basically, in the beginning, it was just more of
aesthetic and budget.
Yeah, aesthetic first, and then when we started approaching them, how much are you charging per square meter? How does the process go? How long does it take?
Exactly.
So,
Exactamente. So basically, it may take a long time because again, it will really take a long time. So for us, instead of looking for an architect, after we bought our property, we actually did both of them simultaneously. We already had an idea of how much or how big we wanted our property to be. So when we'd approach architects, usually that's what they'd ask you. How big is the property? That's the basis so that you could get a range of how much they would charge. Usually it's per square meter. Depends again on the architectural firm or the architect. Of course, there are mid-level, there is high. So the prices for those also go accordingly. So for example, for us, we were looking around the range of per square.
And it's not per square based on the lot, it's per square based on the plans, like how big house you want to build. I think somewhere in 2,000-3,000 range, no?
Yeah, 2,000 to 3,000 pesos per square. Yeah, and then you go from there. So they have to be licensed for sure. Number two is, again, you check their aesthetics. Are they in line with you? Kasi mahirap ipilit sa architect if they have a totally different aesthetic as yours. Yeah. So why go for an architect?
This, and you want this.
Exactly.
It won't work.
And then number three, of course, is the price or your budget. So again, if they already give you from the get-go, we charge 6,000 per square. Wag ka nang remove them na.
As far as the bell in the beginning.
And then also some architects will be asking you, do you already have a wish list? What are the things that you want in your house? Which areas? Do you want basement? How many rooms? Blah, blah, blah. Just so they could give you a better quote. It's not the final quote yet, but they could give you a better quote. They usually would give you an initial contract, just a rough contract, so you can see from there what's included in their package or what's included in their services.
So what's included in the contract usually is preliminary design, so rough sketches, then comes schematics, so you get the renders and detailed plans, and then goes to the engineering, and then of course monitoring the contractor throughout the construction.
Like the more detailed ones, like how many site visits are they committing to you, because that's something also that you can negotiate. And then how the payment scheme is going to be, like what's the initial down payment, like from the get-go, what is it usually, like around
10%, I guess.
10% of your entire contract. And then also how much is the retainer? Retainer basically means that's the amount that you retain until the project is finished, or until after a few months.
Yeah, after the punch list is basically done. So when we move in, then we start noticing, okay, this is not working, this is off, this is not what we agreed. So then when the contractor is fixing those, after everything is done, then you release the retainer usually.
Yeah, to the architect.
And then in our case, for example, with the Studio Archipelago, I think we paid in every step. Like we paid during the preliminary certain amount, then another amount during the schematic, then another bulk came after the blueprints were done. So all the designs like were actually finalized. And then we have monthly billings now during the construction, and then there's a retention step.
Yeah, so if an architect comes to you and says that we want an upfront fee of this, and it's like 80% of the project, then that's shady. You're paying for something that's not even there yet, so cannot be. So again, make sure to check the retention, because this is really, really important. You would want an incentive for the architect to really see the project through. You also want to see in the contract how many team members they will commit to you.
So basically here in the contract, it says you better deliver a Studio Archipelago. 2 international architects and urban planners. 1 international architect and urban planner, multi-awarded large-scale urban developments completed. Dedicated project architect, and then a dedicated project manager. So that person is overseeing the construction, and then supporting team of architects, supporting team of plumbing, mechanical, electrical, structural engineers.
Yes. So engineering is already a service that your architect would usually provide already. It's already in-house, or they outsource it themselves, but it's all already there. So your civil, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all those plans are already coming from the architect and the package that you got from the architect.
Yeah, I think it's usually pretty easy that you get it through the architect. They know who they work with. There's always some adjustments that, okay, the design comes out, and then it goes to the engineers, and then the civil engineer starts calculating the structural plans, and then they figure out, okay, this is not going to work. Like, your design is not feasible, so we have to adjust this. So then if they have a good relationship, then it's easy and fast to do it.
That's why they usually package it with them. And then another thing that you might want to check out when you're looking for your architect is also checking out some references. So if you know of some people who has gotten these architects or the architectural firm, then it would be nice to check in with them, like how the architect was in actuality when they were actually already building their project. And then I already mentioned that you have to check out the site visits. For me, that was really, really important, because when we were building my parents' home, that was really a priority for us, for the architect to be super duper visible the entire time. So then some architects would give you already like a certain number of site visits that's already included in the contract, and then the additional site visits will just have additional fees for those. So it depends on what you can negotiate with your architect. If the architect of your choice isn't so flexible with the number of site visits, then make sure that the site visits you use your architect for are really, really important. So it's really less in the beginning, more towards the middle and the end.
Yeah, actually, like, for example, now we are pretty far already with our construction. The architects will visit the first time the site now in a week. So actually tomorrow, after this vlog comes out.
Yeah.
So then tomorrow is the first day they actually go to the site, and they are gonna.
And this was like after more than a month.
More than 2 months of construction already.
Yeah,
but they are now plotting the actual crucial easements and corners and so forth.
Last thing that you won't see on the contract with your architect is how responsive they are. It's so important to have a responsive architect, someone that's really easily approachable and you can easily communicate with. That's super important because you're gonna work so closely with your architect. So now that you've already chosen your architect, you've reviewed the contract, how long does it usually take? Because people think that it's just like that, the architect is gonna give you the design. No, it takes super duper long. That's why it's not just the construction that takes long, but actually the planning stage changes as well.
So of course it depends on the size of the property and size of the house, how much you want, and then how many revisions you end up doing over the time. But I think the typical starting point is 4 to 6 months for a custom design. When you start from the scratch, it will take time. There is always the preliminary stage, then you approve that, then they go to schematic, then you do adjustments, and then finally approve the final design, and then it goes to the engineers, and from there the blueprints, and yeah, so it takes time.
Yeah, 4 to 6 months. Okay, so we've already touched on architects and engineers. Engineers usually part of your contract with your architect. Next would be contractors. It's really tricky also to look for a contractor because again, your plan can only be so beautiful without an awesome contractor. You know, you really need a really, really good construction company to work with, which is why this also takes a really long time. For us, it took us how long?
Yeah, it took longer. I think, that was partly because we were negotiating. Do I have a hair? It's the one hair which is attached. Stop pulling it every single vlog. So for us, I think our problem was more on like when we actually started bidding out the design to the contractors and the first quotations came back, those were nasty. So we had to go back to the drawing board with the architect to adjust, and that took a long time. And then of course contractors had to adjust their quotes based on, again, the new design, so that really delayed it. We made a bit of a mistake in the beginning estimating how much the construction would cost based on what we had. It was way over the budget, so we had to adjust.
But you know, if that also happens to you, do not fret. There are ways. That is why there's something called value engineering, which Yanni will be talking about on his channel.
It's there, the video na.
That actually happened to us kasi like our architect told us, okay, it's gonna cost you to construct this around this much. And then when we started bidding out the project to different contractors, it was like, woo!
It was double.
Yeah.
It was double.
Ooh, but you know, we're still able to get like more or less the design we wanted still, but at the budget that we were willing to spend.
After value engineering.
So Yanni's gonna talk about that. So yeah, your architect can do the bidding for you if you're looking for the contractor. It depends on the contract that you have with the architect. Some architects offer this, some architects don't. The best, of course, is if your architect can handle the bidding for you. Usually these architects have contractors that they like to work with, so they already have their own pool of contractors that they invite to bid. But it's also nice to look for your own set of contractors to join in on the bid, so you can really compare everything. And then when you're looking for a contractor, you might get surprised because some contractors would say that we're class A, we're class B, we're class DD, or something like that. Like there's a lot of different classes. Haba, explain what these are.
So it's basically PCAP classes. You can register your company to the Philippine Contractors Association Board. I have no idea what the abbreviation is, but basically they evaluate different contractors. And of course, if your contractor is listed there are higher chances that they are actually legit, like if they don't have references to show you. But then again, it's not what you should be looking for in a contractor solely. So it can be an A-class contractor, but it doesn't need to be an A-class contractor to build your house. So basically these categories define what kind of capabilities the company has within their own company.
Not their quality, right? It's
no,
their
not the quality, it's capabilities. So basically, for example, AA, you can do any government project, you can do bridges, you can do whatever. So you have those capabilities within the company.
But it doesn't say that you've got AA quality when it comes to building a house.
From a heart?
It's from experience from before.
So there is hatred. But anyways, okay, we concluded from the madam here that the AA or A doesn't mean quality, and then we also concluded that you don't need that for residential build, so your contractor can be extremely good without having a high rating there.
So who do you approach? You should also already kind of see how much your budget is for construction and base it from there. There are always like low level, mid level, and high level ones. For us, I think we went for kind of like mid-high-ish. So usually these contractors their prices are usually around 30 to 40,000 per square meters. Usually. Or 30 to 50 actually. Depends talaga. You could still find like 20 to 25,000 per square contractors, but harder nowadays.
It really depends, and it's so hard to say that, okay, this is the price of the contractors, because it depends so much on the materials you're going to use. You can get a cheap house if you use cheap materials, and then the contractor square meter price is cheap. If you use higher end materials, then that will automatically hike up the price of the contractor. But ours, we have a lot of owner supplied materials.
Or OSM. So that's another thing that we wanted to suggest to you guys. So if, for example,
it's,
you really...
It's part of your
pero
sorry,
naman
that's
yung script. So if you guys really want a certain contractor because of their quality, but you can't really afford like the all-in price, then it's nice to pitch that OSM, so owner supplied materials. So this is usually more cost effective.
It can be. It's also a lot more work.
And a lot more headache.
Yeah, because you have to make sure that if you are supplying materials yourself, so you're doing the sourcing, you have to make sure that first, the contractor knows how to work with the materials. Second one, the materials have to be at the site at a certain time. So if you are going to the suppliers and say, okay, I'll buy this, make sure that you coordinate with the contractor so that the deliveries will come on time, so that won't delay your project because, the contractor was on time, but then I ordered the stuff too late, so now we're waiting 2 months for the windows to arrive.
So again, like architects, it is so important to have references with the contractors because again, so much of the headache when it comes to building a house comes with the construction. So you really want someone who's super duper efficient and who's super duper reliable. Aside from contacting references, also ask the contractor for projects that you can visit. So it's nice to visit an ongoing project where it's still just constructing, and it's also nice to visit a project that's already turned over. So you see how the finishes look, how the overall quality looks.
Yeah, I think in the end we had 2 construction companies who we were talking to, like choosing from.
Finalists.
Yeah, and
the
those
top 2. Miss Universe is...
Pre-build! So these 2 construction companies, we actually went to their sites, both ongoing construction and ready-made site. So basically at the construction site, you see how their workers are, how clean the site is, how they maintain it. And then the process is like you see actually inside the walls, basically. You see how everything is done. And then in the ready-made or turned over property, then you see, okay, how did they do the finishes? How detailed they are? Are we going to have problems with them when we are doing ours? So with this, actually, this was the deciding factor for us to go with the pre-build because their quality really convinced us, and what we saw was very good. So they were very detail oriented, and I know that when we are overseeing the project in the end with the finishings, if you're not detailed, we will have problems.
Exactly. Of course, part of the bidding also, they're gonna be sending you their costs and everything, like how much the package costs. It's important to ask like the per line cost and to compare all of the bids. Line by line. Don't just compare the total, because someone can say na, we can build your house for let's say 5 million, and someone could say na, I can build your house for 10 million, and don't automatically go for the 5 million because they might be missing a lot of the things that you need there. And then once you've already signed the contract, when you're already constructing, that's when they say, but that's not included in the one that we gave you. You still need to pay this pa pala. And also this one also wasn't included there, and this one also wasn't included there. So make sure to compare all the bids line by line. It is such a huge headache. I don't know this because Yoni did that, but it's really something that's super duper worth it because you don't want to have all those additional costs when you're already constructing that you don't know of. You want everything already there.
Yeah, it's tricky because also different contractors have different quantities in the bidding. So if you didn't go to quantity surveyor, which you can do as well. So when you get the design from the architect, you can send it to quantity surveyor who calculates all the amounts, and then you send that to the contractors. But we didn't do that. We just sent the design to the contractors. So then we have a lot of variation in the quotation. So then you have to figure out that, okay, why are you quoting 100 square meters more in the walls compared to this one? Like what is the actual correct amount? And then, just comparing and then negotiating based on that, okay, but this competitor of yours has this square meter price for plastering and you have this one, but then why do you have this quantity? And then, just line by line, find the discrepancies, talk them through, and make sure that everything is included in the contract so no surprises during the construction.
So like your contracts with your architect, you also have to check out the payment scheme. So usually, how many percent is the upfront, like upon signing?
I think 20.
20%?
15, 20, somewhere there. You shouldn't be paying more than 20, I think.
Yeah, and then they will also say, okay, by this time, this is how much you're gonna pay, blah, blah, blah. So I'm already fast forwarding, but it's just important. Like when they bill you for something, your architect is supposed to check this. they're the ones who's supposed to say, yeah, this has been done. Yeah, this has been done. So that's also one of the duties that the architect will have to do to make sure that your contractor is not billing you for something that they actually haven't done yet.
Correct. So you pay down payment for them to start, but after that, you only pay when things are done. So they can only bill you based on the progress. Don't ever pay in advance, like that you advance, for example, 20% for them to be able to continue. Because I know that's a common problem, that contractor comes to you all of a sudden that, hey, we are low on money. Can you just pay this next 20% so we can continue? Then you pay that and poof, nothing happened. Then
they
made
away.
they made 7% and they're asking more again. So then it really has to be approved by the architect that, okay, we are at this level now. With the construction, you can release the money.
Correct. Exactly. Actually, we've heard of so many clients who's had their money stolen by their contractors, like all of a sudden. Or like, let's say something happened to the company, so it suddenly folded. Even though they've already paid this much, the work that they've done for their house is only like this. So wala na sila magawa because the company folded, they filed for bankruptcy, you can't really go after them. So money lost. And then another thing that you have to check again is retention. This is even more important. So for contractors, it's important to have a retention fee that will be released around a year after turnover, because there are some things that you don't really notice until you're actually already living in that space, in that home. So then every now and then, like, you'll see, oh, something's wrong pala here, you'll call your contractor, so they'll repair it. Usually these repairs are part of the package already because it's only been a year, it's not supposed to be happening. So then after a year, that's when you release the full payment.
Yeah, make sure that there is a warranty mentioned in the contract when you sign it. So if there is no warranty, they won't be coming back unless you have a retention. Eventually, you're a happy homeowner.
Yeah, so that there's an incentive for them to come back and fix things for you. Because if not, usually it's bye, see you later, see you maybe never. Contracts also usually have a penalty clause because
How do they?
Yes. Usually, like, for example, when you talk to contractors, kasi it's also nice to always compare also, like, how many months do they promise for the project to be completed. Some would tend to oversell, say na, because they know that they want to book you to be like, oh, we'll finish it by 10 months, just so that you will sign with them. But of course, when you have a more realistic contractor, they say, oh, we can do it, we can turn over in like 15 months. Even so, they usually have this penalty clause in the contract for moments when they go way over the timeline. Like, for example, you say 15 months, but really they turn it over in 30 months. It does happen, and there are penalty clauses. That's nice to have in your contract, but so far, I've never seen anyone
able
to claim this penalty clause. But it's nice to have in your contract.
It's important to have, like, if you want to target for a certain timeline, then make sure that the penalty is actually something which matters. So, for example, one of the contracts I was reading, the penalty was ridiculously low. And it doesn't even cover the lot. Like, we are inside a subdivision, we have a building bond so that we should finish in 12 months, which never happens. So then we are losing part of the bond every month. So the penalty, what they said to themselves, is not even covering that, what we lose in the bond if they are late. It was already a long period of time, like the construction what they gave us, and then the penalty what was in the contract was ridiculously low.
They were super covering their asses.
Yeah.
Like, for sure, like, if they went way beyond what they promised us, it's fine. It's fine for them because it's just this small, teeny tiny amount that they're giving you. And then another thing that you could ask your contractor or your prospective contractor is, like, how big is your team that you can commit to us? Aside from that also, is this team outsourced or are these people from your own company? Because that's usually where the headache comes. A lot of the construction companies accept too many projects that they end up outsourcing their men. So they end up, getting from other companies or just getting men that they didn't train themselves. So then, even though they're usually known for this type of quality, when it comes to your house, your quality is just here because these are actually not men from their company, not men that they trained themselves, but just men that they outsourced just so they can fill up your construction. Again, I'm not talking from experience. I'm just saying. So it's nice to make sure that the contractor company you're getting, the men that they're committing to you are their own men, that they don't outsource these things, and that they have enough people to actually commit to your project.
Yeah, but then again, it's not set in stone that more guys, the better, like the faster, because there are restrictions in different subdivisions. Like in our current subdivision, I think you can only have 15 guys at the site at any given time. In our new subdivision, they don't have any limits, so you can put 100 guys on the side if you want, and they don't care. Then of course that speeds up the build as well.
Okay, so now you've got your architect, your engineer, your contractors. Next up is interior designers. So for us, in our case, with Studio Archipelago, we're actually pretty lucky because it's already part of the package. They also already have interior design part of their package for us. But normally, if it wasn't part of their package, we probably also wouldn't be getting an interior designer because we're so happy doing it ourselves. Just because it's really something that I truly enjoy. But of course, an interior designer is still very much vital if you're not someone who's, totally familiar with these types of projects. Ako kasi I feel like I went through like the test of fire with my parents' home where we also didn't have an interior designer. So I feel like we're really exposed to all these things. So an interior designer helps you basically design your interiors. So they work very closely with the architect as well. So it's nice to already book your interior designer from the very beginning. So they're aware of all of this. Like, don't get an interior designer when your home is already built. I mean, if there are things that she wants to change, she can't really change it anymore because it's already there. So the interior designer basically thinks of all these like different schemes for your interiors, like the colors. How do you match the colors with your furniture? What theme are you gonna go for? How do you make your house look more like a home? Stuff like that. Again, when you're looking for an interior designer, it's nice to look for a licensed interior designer. If they don't have a license, I think they're not supposed to be called an interior designer, right? They're more interior, they're more of an interior decorator only. So again, these are different. Of course, if you get an interior decorator, they're supposed to be charging a lower fee than interior designer. Last time I inquired was probably like 4 years ago, and around that time, their rates were usually around like 1,500 to 2,000 per square. I'm not really sure now. I'm sure it's much higher. So there's a lot of different interior design firms. Again, look for an interior design firm that matches your aesthetic. Huwag ipilit kung ayaw. Make sure that, their works are already stuff that you already love. You can't like go like, oh, I want this modern aesthetic, pero yung aesthetic pa nila, shabby chic. So rustic. It's just... I must say though that having an interior designer also will cause less headaches. Again, the more people you hire, the less headaches for you. The little things kasi that you normally don't think about, like for example, what kind of light switches, or like what color sockets, or like what kind of tone or temperature for your lights. All these things, your interior designer can help you with. And these are things that you don't normally think about because for you as a regular person, interior design is just, oh, I pick up this furniture, I pick up this color. But all the nitty little details that you don't know of, these are things that the interior designer is super duper familiar with and could really help you out with. So yeah, even just the little things na like how like the design of your windows should be, like the borders of the windows and stuff like that. The handles for your doors.
I didn't have much to contribute in this.
And then last but not the least is a project manager. So for us, again, for my previous project with my family, we didn't hire a project manager because technically the project manager was me, my brother, and my sister. So we were the project managers. We were present in all the site meetings. That's how my father wanted it because he really wanted to be hands-on. So it's really important to have a project manager because they're able to make sure that everything is accounted for and that everything is going on track. So usually this is already part of your contract with, let's say, your architect or your contractor. They have their own project managers that they assign to the project. But you might want to get someone outside because you want someone that's in your corner, that's really looking out for you. So for example,
on your payroll.
It's on your payroll. So they're able to tell you that, nope, that's not true. That didn't happen in the site. This material wasn't used properly, or they actually broke this material and they didn't let you know. So
yeah, it's if for example you're getting a design and build from a same company, of course then there is no check and balance. So there's no architect to validate the work of the contractor when they are the same person. So in these cases, you might want to hire someone to oversee the project so you know what is actually happening at the site, if they're cutting corners or if they're doing things as planned using the materials, what we agreed on. And then of course the project
especially
manager...
if it's an owner-supplied material.
Yeah. And of course the project manager is really keeping track on the timelines. Yeah, it's handy to have if you're not so hands-on yourself, if you have the money for it, and if the situation requires it.
So that is it. My daughter is already crying. She wants her breast milk from these boobies. So I hope that you guys learned something from this vlog. We will see you again on our next Kokoro House vlog.
Bye-bye.
Make sure to leave us a comment below and give us a thumbs up. If you have any more questions,
subscribe to my channel.
Also subscribe to Yoni Fam.
Babu.